There's a type of contract that millions of people sign every year. In it, you agree to pay roughly double the value of something that loses worth every single day. You're locked in for 6 to 8 years. And if you want out early, you pay even more to leave. If this were any other financial product, most people would call it a scam. But because it comes with 4 wheels and that new leather smell, we call it financing a car. I'm James. This channel doesn't tell you how to spend your money. It observes how money leaves your pocket and why you agree to let it happen. Today, we're looking at something I call the fixed cost illusion. The reason a locked-in monthly payment feels safe, even though it's the entry point into a system designed to keep you inside it indefinitely. I won't tell you what to do. I just want you to see the machine running behind that monthly price tag. The human brain has a peculiar feature. It hates uncertainty more than it hates losing money. In behavioral economics, this is called risk aversion, the tendency to avoid the unknown even when the unknown might cost less in the end. And the consumer finance industry has turned this feature into one of the most effective sales tools ever built. Here's how it operates. When you stand in front of 2 options, on one side, a fixed number of X dollars per month for Y years. On the other, it depends some months more, some months less. Your brain almost automatically reaches for the fixed number, not because it's cheaper, because it's predictable. You know exactly how much leaves your account every 30 days. You can plan around it. You can budget. You feel in control. And that feeling of control is exactly where the trap begins. The car financing system doesn't sell you a way to get from one place to another. It sells you artificial peace of mind, the sensation that you've handled the transportation problem the moment you put your signature on that dotted line. But in reality, that fixed monthly number is only the visible surface. Underneath it sits an iceberg of variable costs that never made it into the original calculation insurance premiums that scale with vehicle value fuel prices, that shift with the oil market maintenance bills that climb as the car ages, and asset value that falls like a stone dropped off a bridge. Think of it this way. You're standing in front of an empty swimming pool. The salesman says, all you have to do is pour in 50 gallons a month. Simple. Easy to manage. Sounds reasonable. But what nobody mentions is that the pool has a crack running along the bottom, and that crack gets wider over time. Month 1, you pour in 50 gallons and the pool fills up. Month 12, you pour in 50 gallons and the water barely reaches halfway. Month 36, same 50 gallons and the water line hasn't moved at all. The amount you pour in stays the same, but the value you retain shrinks with every cycle. That is precisely how a car loan functions when the asset underneath it depreciates faster than you can pay down the debt. And here is where the mechanism gets sophisticated. When the crack gets wide enough, meaning you owe more than the vehicle is worth, the system doesn't stop. It offers a new option switch to a bigger pool. The negative gap from your old pool. Don't worry, it gets folded into the cost of the new one. Your monthly number might nudge up slightly, or it might stay the same if you agree to extend the timeline. You feel in control again. You feel settled. And the crack in the new pool starts forming from day 1, only this time it's carrying leftover water debt from the last round. This structure is not an accident. It is architecture. The entire consumer auto finance model is built on one operating principle: convert variable costs into fixed costs inside the buyer's perception, while keeping the true variable nature hidden on the back end. The buyer sees a steady number. The system sees a cash flow it can extract for 6, 7, 8 years, and if the design works correctly, for that person's entire driving life. The psychological flow follows a specific sequence. Step 1. The monthly anchor. The first question is never how much does this vehicle cost? It's how much can you do per month? Immediately, the conversation shifts from asset value to cash flow capacity. This is the first reframe, and it happens before most people even notice. Step 2. Stretch the timeline. When the monthly number is still too high, the answer is not to lower the vehicle price. The answer is to slice the payments thinner, add 12 months, add 24 months. The monthly figure drops. The total cost rises. But your brain only processes the monthly figure because that's the number you have to face in 30 days, not 7 years from now. Step 3. Normalize and absorb. After a few months of payments, the installment becomes normal. It sits in your fixed expense column alongside electricity, water, and rent. You stop questioning it. It becomes part of the cost of being alive. And that is the exact moment the mechanism completes its job, turning an enormous financial decision into an invisible habit. Step 4. The loop. When the loan nears its end, or when the desire for something newer surfaces, the cycle resets to Step 1. Except this time, it carries residual negative equity from the previous round. Each loop, the cumulative debt grows. Each loop, the gap between what you own and what you owe widens. But the monthly number still looks manageable, and you still feel in control. This system doesn't require greed. It doesn't require poor judgment. It only requires one thing: a preference for stability, which is one of the most normal, most universal traits in human psychology. And it exploits that trait systematically. I noticed this pattern not because I went looking for it, but because I kept seeing the same shape repeat in my own decisions, in the people around me, in the numbers that show up in public data. The shape is always the same: a small, calm number on the surface, and a large accelerating cost underneath. Once you see the shape, it's difficult to unsee. 2 people. Same income. Same city. Same commute. Different outcomes, but not for the reason most people assume. Let's call them David and Marcus. Both are 28. Both take home roughly $4,500 a month after taxes. Both need a reliable way to get to work about 30 minutes each direction. Their lives look almost identical on paper. David walks into a dealership. He picks a new vehicle listed around $38,000. The finance manager asks the standard opening question, "What monthly payment works for you?" David does some quick mental math. $600 a month fits. The manager stretches the loan to 72 months, adjusts the rate, and the number lands right where David needs it. He signs. What David feels at that moment is calm. $600 is fixed. It's predictable. It fits neatly into his monthly budget. The transportation problem is solved. He drives off the lot and doesn't think about it again, at least not for a while. Marcus also needs a car, but before visiting any lot, he opens a spreadsheet and asks a different question. Not what can I handle per month, but rather, how much total cash will I pour into getting around over the next 6 years, and what will I have left at the end? Marcus buys a 3-year-old vehicle for $16,000 in cash drawn from savings. No loan, no interest, no contract binding him to anything. Now let's run both scenarios forward 6 years side by side. No complicated math, just the broad shape of what happens. Every month, $600 leaves David's account for the car payment. Steady, predictable. But next to that fixed number, other numbers start moving. Insurance on a new vehicle runs higher than on a used one. Fuel costs shift with the market. Around year 4, the car begins needing non-trivial maintenance, but David doesn't have a dedicated reserve for this because the $600 monthly obligation already occupies that space in his budget. The repair charges go on a credit card. By the end of year 6, David finishes the loan. The total cash he's sent toward the vehicle payments, plus interest, plus insurance, plus fuel, plus maintenance, adds up to a figure considerably larger than the original sticker price, and the vehicle's current market value. Roughly cut in half, maybe more. David owns the car outright now, but most of the money he paid over 6 years doesn't exist anywhere. It evaporated into interest depreciation and the secondary costs that were never part of the original monthly calculation. And here's the part worth noticing. The first thought David has when that final payment clears isn't, "I'm free." It's, "Now I can upgrade." The loop is ready to restart. Marcus pays $16,000 up front. The first month feels uncomfortable. His savings account drops visibly. This is the exact moment where most people choose financing over paying in full. The pain of losing a lump sum right now feels sharper than the pain of losing a larger amount spread across 72 smaller cuts. This is risk aversion doing its work in real time. It steers people toward the more expensive option simply because it hurts less in the present. But from month 2 onward, Marcus has no car payment. The $600 that David sends to a lender each month, Marcus redirects into a basic investment account. Insurance on his older vehicle costs less. Maintenance on a 3-year-old car hasn't reached the expensive phase yet. His total monthly transportation cost sits well below David's. End of year 6, Marcus drives a 9-year-old car. Its market value is low, but he also has a growing balance in an investment account that David does not. And more importantly, Marcus is not locked into any contract. If his income drops, he adjusts. If David loses his job, the $600 payment still arrives on schedule, indifferent to whether David has the money or not. Here is what this comparison actually reveals. The issue is not that David is reckless or that Marcus is frugal. The issue is that David chose to lock a variable cost into a fixed obligation inside a world where his income, the source funding that fixed obligation, is entirely variable. Salaries can shrink. Jobs can disappear. Health can shift. But the car payment does not shift. It does not care. David traded short-term comfort for long-term rigidity. Marcus absorbed short-term discomfort to preserve long-term optionality. Neither person is right or wrong, but only one of them fully understood what they were exchanging, and for what. Most people, when they think about personal finance, sort their world into 2 boxes: fixed costs and variable costs. Rent fixed, groceries variable. And the moment a car payment lands in the fixed box, the brain does something automatic. It categorizes that expense as necessary, non-negotiable, not worth re-examining. It becomes invisible, like the electricity bill, like the water bill, just another permanent line item in the cost of being alive. But here is the blind spot. A car payment is not a fixed cost. It is a variable cost that you voluntarily locked into place. The need to get from one location to another that's fixed. You have to reach your workplace. You have to move through your life. But the way you meet that need is entirely variable. Older vehicle, newer vehicle, public transit, carpooling, living closer to work. A dozen options exist at any given time. When someone signs a 6 to 8 year financing contract, they are converting a flexible need into a rigid obligation. They are voluntarily eliminating every other option for the duration of that contract. And this runs directly against what may be the most fundamental principle of financial health: preserve optionality as long as possible. Most personal finance content online frames the car question in moral terms. Don't buy expensive cars because you're wasting money. That framing implies greed, poor discipline, or an inability to do basic arithmetic. And that is precisely why most people tune it out. Nobody wants to be told they're foolish. But when the same situation is viewed through a structural lens, the picture changes. The problem is not character. The problem is architecture using a variable income stream, a salary that can rise, fall, or vanish to feed a fixed obligation that never falls and never vanishes until the contract expires. This is a structural mismatch, and the mismatch grows more dangerous as the payment occupies a larger share of total income. Put differently, the issue was never about liking nice vehicles. The issue is using a rigid financial instrument to serve a flexible need inside a life where the only certainty is uncertainty. When the lens shifts from, "Can I handle this monthly number?" to "How much of my flexibility am I locking into a depreciating asset?" the entire picture reorganizes. And the questions that follow tend to look very different from the ones that came before. Car financing is not a scam in any legal sense. No laws are broken. No fine print is hidden. But it is a system that leverages the exact way your brain processes risk, converting a dislike of uncertainty into an acceptance of long-term loss. One calm, monthly payment at a time. Most people make one of the largest financial commitments of their lives based on the smallest number in the equation, the monthly figure, and never see the full picture until the contract is already behind them. No advice, just observation. But the real question isn't whether financing a car is good or bad. The real question is, why is the entire financial system structured so that borrowing for housing, for transportation, for education feels like the default? That mechanism is far larger than any single vehicle, and it's what we'll look at next. If you want to keep observing, subscribe. Not for answers, just for a clearer view of the machine while it's running.